Professor, please explain alternative evaluation methods.
Sure, in the previous class, I explained the 5 stages of consumer purchase decision-making. In this session, I will provide a detailed explanation of the 3rd stage, which is alternative evaluation. Alternative evaluation refers to the process of comparing and evaluating several alternatives within the choice set to ultimately select one. There are 3 main approaches to alternative evaluation: heuristic, compensatory, and non-compensatory. Let me first explain the heuristic rule. The heuristic rule refers to making product purchase decisions based on past experiences or intuition. When consumers are pressed for time, lack sufficient information, or see no need to overthink, they make decisions based on rough estimation. This method of making purchase decisions without much analysis or deliberation is known as the heuristic rule. The heuristic rule is commonly observed in daily life. For example, making a purchase decision based on word of mouth or assuming that a product made by a large corporation is reliable are examples of the heuristic approach. Another example is assuming that higher prices indicate better quality. The heuristic rule allows for quick decision-making, but it has the drawback of being irrational and influenced by biases. Now, let's move on to the 2nd evaluation approach, which is the compensatory rule. The compensatory rule involves establishing evaluation criteria when assessing multiple alternatives, and then evaluating the products based on those criteria. The product with the highest score is chosen for purchase. If there is only one evaluation criterion, errors can occur. Therefore, the compensatory rule involves creating multiple evaluation criteria that complement each other. Hence, even if a product receives a low score in one criterion, it can still be selected if it scores high in another criterion. The compensatory rule is widely used by governments or businesses when making policy decisions, strategic choices, or purchasing goods. Also, it is widely used by individuals in daily life. As an example, individuals might say, "Although it is expensive, the food tastes great, so I would recommend it to others." In this case, evaluation is not based solely on price but on 2 criteria: price and food taste. The compensatory rule involves the following steps. First, establish several evaluation criteria and assign weights to them. The sum of the weights should be 100%. Then, conduct actual evaluations based on the criteria and calculate scores by applying the weights. The sum of the scores represents the final score for each alternative. By comparing the final scores, the alternative with the highest score can be selected. I will now explain the non-compensatory rules. The non-compensatory rule involves evaluating alternatives based on various criteria, but if an alternative fails to meet the minimum score in any of the criteria, it is eliminated. This is known as the cutoff system for each evaluation criterion. The non-compensatory rule includes the lexicographic rule, the elimination by aspects rule, the conjunctive rule, and the disjunctive rule. The lexicographic rule involves selecting the alternative that receives the highest score in the most important criterion, which is the first-ranked criterion. If there is a tie among alternatives in the first-ranked criterion, the alternative with the highest score in the second-ranked criterion is selected. It is called the lexicographic rule because the evaluation is conducted in the order of the first rank, second rank, third rank, such as A, B, C, and so on. The elimination by aspects rule is a sequential elimination approach where alternatives that fail to meet the minimum score are progressively eliminated, starting from the first-ranked criterion and moving to the fifth-ranked criterion if there are 5 evaluation criteria. The method involves eliminating alternatives that do not meet the minimum score for each criterion until only one alternative remains. If there are two or more alternatives remaining after the sequential elimination, they are evaluated using a different rule. The conjunctive rule is a rule where an alternative is eliminated if it fails to meet the minimum score in any of the evaluation criteria. In other words, an alternative is chosen from those that do not fail in any of the criteria. If all alternatives fail, or if two or more alternatives pass, a second evaluation is conducted using a different rule. The disjunctive rule, on the other hand, is the opposite of the conjunctive rule. It is a rule where an alternative is selected if it exceeds the minimum score in any of the evaluation criteria. In other words, all alternatives that pass the minimum score in at least one criterion are considered. If two or more alternatives pass, a second evaluation is conducted using a different rule.
Professor, alternative evaluation methods can be quite complex and diverse.
Yes, that's correct. Although there are various types of alternative evaluation methods, once you understand them well, they can be very useful in everyday life. Now, let's practice with a case study to explain the alternative evaluation methods. The case study involves Steve deciding to purchase a mobile phone and evaluating alternatives. The table on the screen represents the evaluation criteria set by Steve. Please listen to the explanation while looking at the screen. Steve established 5 evaluation criteria: price, data capacity, sound quality, brand, and design. Among them, he prioritized price as the first rank, data capacity as the second rank, sound quality as the third rank, brand as the fourth rank, and design as the fifth rank. He assigned weights to the criteria as follows: price 35%, data capacity 25%, sound quality 20%, brand 15%, and design 5%. There are 3 types of mobile phones available: A, B, and C. The perfect score is 10, and the minimum score, or the cutoff score, for all criteria is assumed to be 5 out of 10. First, let me explain the compensatory rule. The compensatory rule involves selecting the product that achieves the highest score by considering the weights assigned to each criterion. First, Steve evaluated 3 products, A, B, and C, according to the evaluation criteria. A received scores of 4 for price, 6 for data capacity, 7 for sound quality, 9 for brand, and 9 for design, resulting in a total score of 35. B received scores of 8, 8, 4, 4, and 9, respectively, resulting in a total score of 33. C received scores of 8, 9, 5, 4, and 6, respectively, resulting in a total score of 32. Therefore, A received the highest score of 35, while C received the lowest score of 32. Now, let's apply the weights. For A, 4 points multiply weight 35% plus, 6 points multiply weight 25% plus, 7 points multiply weight 20% plus, 9 points multiply weight 15% plus, 9 points multiply weight 5 equals 6.10 points. For B, 8 points multiply 35% plus, 8 points multiply 25% plus, 4 points multiply 20% plus, 4 points multiply 15% plus, 9 points multiply 5% equals 6.65 points. For C, 8 points multiply 35% plus, 9 points multiply 25% plus, 5 points multiply 20% plus, 4 points multiply 15% plus, 6 points multiply 5% equals 6.95 points. Therefore, when applying the weights, C receives the highest score of 6.95, and A ranks third with a score of 6.10. According to the compensatory rule, C is selected. Next, let's evaluate using the non-compensatory rule. First, the lexicographic rule selects the alternative that receives the highest score in the criterion with the highest weight which is the first-ranked criterion. If there is a tie, the second-ranked criterion is considered. In the case analysis, for the first-ranked criterion, which is price, both B and C received the highest score of 8. Since there is a tie, the second-ranked criterion, data capacity, is considered. C received the highest score of 9 in this criterion, so ultimately, C is selected. The elimination by aspects rule involves sequentially eliminating alternatives that fail to meet the minimum score, starting from the first-ranked criterion and narrowing down the selection range. In the case analysis, A fails to meet the minimum score of 5 in the first-ranked criterion, so it is eliminated. Both B and C meet the minimum scores in the second-ranked criterion, so they both pass. In the third-ranked criterion, B fails with a score of 4, leaving C as the only remaining option. Although C also fails to meet the minimum score of 5 in the fourth-ranked criterion, it is the only alternative remaining and is thus selected as the final choice. The combination rule is a rule that eliminates alternatives if they fail to meet the minimum score in any of the evaluation criteria. In the above example, since there is no product that meets all the evaluation criteria without falling short, no product is selected, and a secondary evaluation is conducted using a different rule. The separation rule is a rule where if any one of the evaluation criteria exceeds the minimum score, all alternatives are initially selected in the first round of evaluation, and if multiple products pass the first evaluation, additional evaluation is conducted using a different rule. In the above example, since all A, B, and C products exceed the minimum score in at least one evaluation criterion, they are all initially selected. Then, the second evaluation is conducted using a different rule.
Professor, understood the complex alternative evaluation methods through the examples you provided. Thank you very much.
So far, I have explained the third stage of alternative evaluation in the 5-step consumer purchase decision process in detail. Although the evaluation methods are complex, they are phenomena that consumers experience in their actual purchasing process, so I believe they can be easily understood. In the next session, I will explain the involvement level that is closely related to consumers.